So, what's your earliest musical memory?
Singing with family. Well, we used to, extended family, always, come from Chatham, always used to get together, Christmas, Christmas and, events.
Yeah.
And although I wouldn't say that, none of my family were particularly musical, none of them played an instrument, but a lot of them liked to sing.
Yeah.
So a lot of sort of unaccompanied singing, just, old standards. My nan, had a particular, she always used to sing Sally, Pride of Our Valley, and, Aunt, so everyone had their sort of party piece that they sing, and my uncle and my dad, always sort of quite liked to sing. So it was just sort of normal really, to sort of sing in that way, and just sort of belt it out. So I just, just like doing that.
So that kind of leads me into the thinking behind the next question. I was thinking that you're a regular at folk festivals and Broadstairs and things like that, but I was thinking you're not necessarily just a folk singer, are you? You're a bit more than that.
No, yeah, I think the sort of folk label is difficult, I think, in lots of ways, because you and it's very broad church, and people have very different interpretations of it. So people would, there's some people who have this very strict criteria of what is traditional folk music. Has to be before 1954, and all these sort of rules. Exactly, all of that. And a lot of that stuff isn't really that traditional. A lot of it isn't really that old. Yeah. There's always this sort of culture of adapting stuff, and I like the examples of there's lots of. Scottish and Irish songs that went over to America, and they then become Appalachian songs, and the songs that are now classed as sort of bluegrass Appalachian songs are actually old Irish or Scottish songs. So it's that sort of, that's a good thing about sort of the folk label. It is about a tradition that evolves, but basically we just write songs, and we write songs that are quite story based. They're quite they tick a lot of those boxes of what people think of as folk music, and we play in a very sort of stripped down, just one guitar or just one or two instruments, occasional ukulele, bit of percussion. So it's that stripped back style. And to be honest, I think that really the folk circuit, if you call it that, is the only real they're the natural places to perform in that way. So rather than, we're not a pub act. We have had we've played in different combinations. We've had a band with trios, and we have obviously played in pubs, and we still do to a certain extent as a trio. But actually we're not your typical pub act. There's very few places where we would really want to, and even now, the last sort of year or so, we've sort of thought, just not going to do it anymore, because you end up going to places and it's nobody's fault. You just go there and you just think, oh, why am I doing this? People, it's not necessarily what people want to hear. It's noisy. You're fighting a crowd. All of that, and what people want is things that they. Very familiar things that they know, or things that that are the covers that. So the folk circuit, if you like, is somewhere that you can tap into that actually that has that sort of suits what we do.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people on the folk circuit that are like that, and I think that it part of the problem is that sort of definition of what is folk music. Which there's not any point getting into, is
no,
it?
No,
so,
that question wasn't really coming from. I'm a folk.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's just the fact that we're not. A lot of people. If you talk about, if you mention folk music to the man in the street, the mythical man in the street, they immediately think of Aaron Jumpers and the Finger and or. Or Mumford and Son, or Ralph McTell, I could do my pointless.
No point.
So I've been trying to work on a joke,
Okay.
which is it hasn't really formed itself into a joke yet, and by the time I actually get it into a joke, I'll have told everybody anyway. So, my joke was if you gave 100 people 100 minutes to name as many folk artists that they could, nearly all of them would be pointless.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a pointless joke. So it only works if you watch Pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I in the stuff that I've heard from you, there's a fair bit of jazz. There's a kind of a music hall tradition, almost, which I suppose is what came out of that first question. The sort of stuff that you were doing as a young girl, and folk stuff. And there's all the comedy stuff that with parallels to Victoria Wood and Richard Digance and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a whole array of different stuff going on there. The tango song that you there's loads of stuff. Yeah.
Well, in every folk club, there's always someone with a guitar collection.
And I think a lot of that sort of the stylistically comes from, the fact that of the way that Brian plays. So I think that you've played all those styles, and you've played in sort of jazz bands and different stuff. So, and I think that you probably couldn't you like I've got to say this in the right way now without making it sound like I'm being critical, which I'm not. But it's like you like to make things interesting, which can is more complicated than your average folk song.
Yeah.
So Brian will always sort of have embellishments and make it interesting for you. Otherwise, it's not. You've got no interest in doing things.
If I don't enjoy playing, I wouldn't do it at all. Honestly.
So how does the songwriting process work? Do you
just
work together on it, or you are? And is this where Murder on My Mind comes from?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it is. But we have it's interesting because we've done some songwriting workshops as well recently, and we've attended a lot of festivals when they have sort of workshops and different stuff. You quite often get people who will do a song, folk singer-songwriters. And it's quite interesting to go along and talk to people about the process of songwriting. And we've run a few now, a couple ourselves, in songwriting forums at festivals and stuff, where people come along and you have these discussions with people about the process of songwriting. One of the things that sort of struck us last year when we started doing this was that how few people actually collaborate in the way that we try to. And I think actually it's probably not the most sensible thing to do, because I think it's fair to say that all of our songs, although often one of us has had more of an input than the other, they all have to, everything has to pass our individual sort of benchmarks for different things. So it's sort of we both have the right of veto on anything we don't like about it, which is a recipe for disaster. Sometimes we're not so much now. We sort of, oh no, that's not true, because it is just as bad as it ever was. But we've had we've been threatening divorce. We've had tears, slamming the door, stamping, stomping. Because I don't like that line.
Okay. Wow.
Or I'm not going to sing that, I don't like it.
Yeah.
If I show Stephen, it is like that.
So it's not. It's a bit of a painful process. Sometimes they come quite easy. Sometimes sometimes they come quite naturally and flow. And think, oh, that was good. They don't end up being the best song.
The catalogue guitar, that's simple. Mm-hmm. Once you have the idea, and most of the songs they're quite truthful, really. They're just like personal experience, a little bit corrupted.
I was going to ask, is it autobiographical?
Yeah.
Most of it, a little bit of poetic licence, but I have to remind myself sometimes that actually they don't all have to be true. You're allowed to
Yeah.
We've just written a song called "It's Just a Song," which because we had a little bit of writer's block and sort of thinking, oh, you know, we don't know what we write a song about. We need to sort of do a bit more writing. And a friend of ours suggested, well, why don't you write a song about not being able to write a song?
Yeah.
So we wrote this song called "Just a Song," but you do have to. And it just occurred to me that actually, you know, it is just a song, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be 100%.
In the light of what's happening all around us at the moment, it's not really that important, is it?
Yeah.
So trying to get it into perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
That line doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If it's not quite true. It doesn't actually quite ring true. When are you going to start then? Seems my creativity has hit an all-time low. No words are flowing from my pen. I've scored a fat 0. But surely in the scheme of things, if that's the only thing that's wrong, I should remember it's just a song. It's just a song I can't write at the moment. It's just a song. It's just a song. I could be hungry in a war zone or be homeless. It's just a song. It's just a song. To keep yourself connected is a top priority. It can really make you scream and shout if you can't get 4G. Imagine if you've lost your friends and if you're far away from home. You should remember it's just a phone. It's just a phone I can't use at the moment. It's just a phone. It's just a phone. I could be hungry in a war zone or be homeless. It's just a phone. It's just a phone. Can't believe the weather has spoiled the plans we've made. The storm clouds rolling in are gonna rain on your parade. But imagine if your well was dry, then you wouldn't much complain. You should remember it's just the rain. It's just the rain, I'm getting wet at the moment. It's just the rain. It's just the rain. I could be hungry in a war zone or be homeless. It's just the rain. It's just the rain. So if these are your problems, then I've nothing more to say. It's just a song, it's just a phone, it's just a rainy day. And surely in the scheme of things, if that's the only thing that's wrong, you should remember it's just a song. It's just a song I can't write at the moment. It's just a song. It's just a song. I could be hungry in a war zone or be homeless. It's just a song. It's just a song. It's just a song I can't write at the moment. It's just a song. It's just a song. I could be hungry in a war zone or be homeless. It's just a song. It's just a song. It's just a song. It's just a ukulele song.
So I shouldn't ask about the Isabel Makes Love Upon National One.
That's not true. That's because that's a Jake Thackeray song.
Oh, okay.
So I've decided that the stuff that we do now. So most of the stuff that we do is stuff that we've written.
Yeah.
But we do the songs that we do that we haven't written are the songs that I wished that I'd written.
Yeah.
So there's there's songs that really grab you and think, it's just the title of it.
Yeah.
Isabel Makes Love Upon National Monuments, and the whole thing is just sort of like an exercise in comic.
Yeah.
I guess brilliant songwriting. It's like the Victoria Wood song.
Yeah.
That it's just such a little
perfectly
self-contained, fabulous little sort of.
I hope actually that Victoria Wood goes down in the annals of being one of the best sort of comedy songwriters of all time, because she certainly was.
Yeah.
It was also very musically interesting as well.
Yeah.
I know she was like peak time telly and not very middle of the road, but there's an awful lot of talent there.
Yeah.
Sort of,
and
the familiarity she got in things.
And sort of the pathos. It's that sort of
antiques and all that stuff.
It's a combination of being very, having that getting the sort of tone, the tone of voice almost.
Yeah.
That sort of tone right. Very sort of funny, but there's also a lot of pathos and a lot of that people thing, the familiarity of it. And we tend, we always sort of tend to do the Ballad of Barry and Frida as an encore quite often. And I know when if you've got a mixed audience, I know the lines that that are going to get a laugh from the women. I know the lines that are going to get a laugh from the men. It's like just such a sort of clever way of tapping into sort of ordinary people. It's great. So so they aspire to.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't see the joins really, because I was going through some of the songs you've done, and I wasn't familiar with that song, so I just assumed it was yours. But when you match it up with stuff that you have done, that
Oh, that's great for you to say that. Yeah, it's poor. It sort of works for us.
Yeah, and I think that getting that mix between stuff that I don't. A lot of the stuff that we do is comedic. It's intrinsically sort of comedic, but it's, I think it's important that not all of it is. You have that balance between sort of a bit of drama and a bit of pathos and a bit of poignancy, along with the sort of the comic elements of it, and trying to mix that up a bit. And I think that we all. Brian's background has a background in comedy, so and I think that you've always felt very strongly that whatever we do, it has to be entertaining. It has to sort of project and connect, and it has to sort of have that impact on your audience, rather than just sort of standing and and just being musically good. Which a lot of we see lots of artists and actors who are absolutely brilliant, but after sort of half an hour you just think lighten up a bit or brighten up a bit. And
when you're writing your books, you've got to have little things that lift it. Otherwise.
So I think even taking back the serious stuff, as performers, we like to. One of the things that we try to do is, even if the material isn't funny, to just be entertaining and that's the only point, isn't it? People come out to see you to have a nice time. And hopefully go home smiling or laughing or whatever.
Because on the more serious side, you've got a song, Food Banks and Ferraris, which very, very topical. We're doing this interview a couple of days after the Grenfell Tower thing, and all the outpouring of anger and everything that's come from that. Was there anything in particular that inspired you, or was it just the general situation?
I read a little quote in a magazine that was that said, you know, the number of, you know, there'd never been as many food banks in the UK as there were. There's record numbers of food banks, and that coincided with it being a record year. I think it was a couple of years ago, for the number of Ferraris that have been sold in the UK.
Right.
And those two things coincided. And we had also...
It was a eureka moment.
That was the thinking, oh, you know, that is a song.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it also coincided with we had just been to see the Ken Loach film, the one before, you know, Daniel Blake, Spirit of 45.
Okay.
Which was a fantastic documentary film about the welfare state, and you know it's done sort of in talking heads, where it's all just talking heads, where he just is interviewing people from people who were you know, women who were nurses in 1947 or whenever it was, 48, when the National Health Service started, and they were previously nurses, you know, working however they worked in hospitals or whatever, and that transition. So they had a lot of archive footage and footage in the 60s and 70s, and it was a very good film because it showed how quickly. One thing that surprised me about it was how quickly the whole concept of the welfare state started to unravel, like from the 70s onwards. You know, stuff was being renationalised, and you know things didn't last that long. So you know the like that 60-year period has never really been that. You know, it's always been a bit fragile, I think, and. So that thought, I suppose, that sort of the spirit of 45, and that sort of sense that, and Ken Loach said, you know, the spirit of 45 was post-war, and everybody had this great sort of, there was this upsurge of people wanting things to be better, from across the spectrum of, you know, the demographic, from the rich and the poor. There was this sense that this had to change, and it sort of never happened before, which is how all of that was able to happen. But then, you know, he goes through year by year, and it's all clean, and then, you know, the railways were sold, and all the utilities were sold, and all the things that had been nationalised were sort of gradually sort of going back.
It was quite a short period of time, really.
So I think that combined with and it's that sort of inequalities and the fact that there was this sort of vision and optimism for a better way, which, you know, wasn't sustained, and it's, you know, and that's sort of where it came from, really. And but you know, it's been since then. It feels like there's been a little bit. Well, in the last sort of 8 weeks, there's just been this sort of little bit of a surge where people think actually, you know, obviously not the spirit of 45, but sort of something like that sort of sense of people thinking that there is actually, it doesn't have to be the way that it is, and there is a sort of real argument about you know, having a you know, state intervention.